Good morning, everybody. I'm Justin Reamer, Assistant Deputy Minister for Western Economic Diversification, and I am really excited to be here with you alongside my provincial counterpart, Michelle Evans, Assistant Deputy Minister for Alberta Economic Development, Trade and Tourism. Welcome to Show Me the Money. WD is pleased to partner with Economic Development, Trade and Tourism to deliver this workshop. We have the federal and provincial government working arm in arm with our ecosystem partners to provide you with great information on how to navigate the funding landscape for entrepreneurs. And I'd really like to thank Alberta Innovates and Laura Kilcrease for this opportunity. And finally, I would like to thank everyone for taking part of this workshop. I understand we have more than 700 attendees at this workshop, which is fantastic. Your attendance in events like this, where entrepreneurs, innovators, and investors like yourselves converge to explore solutions, is essential to building our economic resiliency and recovery. I know these are challenging times for Canadians and especially our businesses and those striving to bring new ideas to market. And the federal and provincial funding landscape is sometimes challenging to navigate and not easy to understand. So Western Diversification and our government counterparts and ecosystem partners are committed to helping ensure Alberta businesses and entrepreneurs receive the support they need to make it through this unprecedented time and continue to grow and develop new innovative products and services. Today's workshop was designed to help you navigate these funding landscape and resources, as well as identify some key innovation ecosystem supports to help you at each stage of your company's growth. And there is a number of them. So we have the morning to walk you through a number of them that exist in the province. I'm going to now hand it over to Michelle for some opening comments.
Thanks, Justin. Really great to see everyone here today and really appreciate the opportunity to be together with you in a setting like this where we can have so many people in one space virtually together and create an opportunity for us to learn and interact together. Alberta really is trying to work to create the conditions for growth. We know, as Justin said, how hard it is these times where we're all sort of in a lot of uncertainty. It's really difficult. And so we really wanted to be part of this event today and share a little bit of what's going on. I want to leave you with a very simple thought. Alberta is open for business, and you really have the opportunity to do great things in this province. We know the world's economy is changing. We know we have new opportunities, and we really want to make sure that you can leverage the talent, the pragmatic expertise, and creative ideas that you have to help grow our province. And most importantly, really, we know we have the people, the programs, and the connections to help you succeed in your business. So what I challenge everyone on the call today, on the webinar today, is to think big. We want you to be able and be ready to prepare for what comes next. And we want you to grow your billion-dollar company here in Alberta. So we can do this, and we have some programs and things we're going to talk about today to help you be successful. I really want to remind, I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping for us, Justin. Remind everyone that the chat function is open for you to chat and share your ideas, ask your questions, and interact with your colleagues. I just ask that you be thoughtful, that you be curious in your questions and your comments, and that you be respectful on the chat. It is open to everyone. And today, the event is divided into 3 workshops, and it covers a whole range of programs and questions from early stage startups through to those that really want to scale and enter new markets around the world. Each workshop, we have a moderator and some question and answer periods following those presentations. So just to remind you, for those of you who probably aren't all that familiar with the platform, if you do have a question, you can type them either into the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen or into the chat window, and the moderator will distribute them through to the appropriate individual at the end of the session if we don't get to them. Following each session, again, there'll be a bit of a break to allow people time to take a little bit of a moment, wrap up the session and chat before we move into the next session. So again, really appreciate everyone taking the time today. We're really excited to tell you about our programs and services and show you the money. Back over to you, Justin.
Thanks, Michelle. So first thing we thought we'd do to kick this event off is not talk to you about the programs, but actually talk to you from a user perspective, a client who's actually used the program successfully and has been able to see significant growth in their company. So I'd like to introduce Daryl Skoreko, founder of Serious Labs here in Edmonton. Serious Labs is a technology company that develops virtual reality training solutions for the global heavy equipment industry. Serious Labs has been successful in receiving receiving a variety of types of government funding. And Daryl's going to talk about his experience and the impact that the funding has had on his company. Daryl, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Justin. Hello, everyone. I was going to talk a little bit about our company, but Justin already told you about us, so you don't need to rehear that. A little bit about myself. I've been with Sirius Labs since 2012 when we had 20 staff, and our offices were located above a wig shop on 104th Street, just off 82nd Avenue. Since then, we have grown up to 68 staff, and a big part of all of this has been through our active activity in regards to seeking out various government programs. I'll touch on that in a bit. My title is Executive Director of Corporate Services. Justin, thank you for giving me the title of founder, but unfortunately I can't own that. My primary function is to oversee the accounting and finance activities, HR, IT, and admin services for Sirius Labs, and I'm a CPA by profession. Since 2012, we've been very active in seeking grants, investment tax credits, and/or government loans. Initially, we did a lot of this work with our internal resources, but we found that we lacked familiarity and expertise with some of the programs, as well as we didn't have the internal resources to effectively, make the applications. So for the last 2 to 3 years, we've engaged a third-party service provider, which we've to help us identify the opportunities and draft even our proposals. One of the benefits of using these folks is they do a lot of applications for profit and nonprofit organizations. They understand the workings of the various programs and how best to approach them, and also to identify the ones that you're most likely to have success with. They do proposals for both federal and provincial grants. Our relationship initially started out as a traditional vendor-customer relationship, but it has evolved into more of a strategic partnership. I'll give you an example. We're currently working on a development contract with a nonprofit organization, and because of their expertise, they're aware of various government programs that potential customer of ours is eligible for. So part of our approach to them is going to be to say, hey, if we do this work together, we can help get you some type of funding, the nature of it through this. So our relationship is more of a strategic relationship now. That third-party vendor actually sits in on some of our internal committee meetings and advises us. In terms of the programs, we look at all the tax credit programs. So we've done SR&ED, SRE&D. We've done some loan applications through WD, which we were successful on, as well as we've participated in at least 6 to 8 different programs under the various governments. So we participated in programs, Can Export, Alberta Export Expansion Program, Alberta Interactive Digital Media, Athabasca University Industrial Research Assistant Programs, and Alberta Innovate Technology Programs, as well as I mentioned the Western Diversification and the tax credit programs. And since 2013, we have, with the assistance of our team, we've managed to get upwards of $3 million in various types of grants. And this is obviously for us, it's been very helpful. For those of you who are sitting in on this and maybe on the admin side, this is a tremendous way for your finance group to minimize the term, you're just G&A, and you can prove that you do add value aside from processing payroll and accounting transactions. One of the other benefits that we receive from this is, again, through these various introductions, as we got introduced to Innovation Canada. It's a federal program. And through that, another sub-program that we qualified for, which was the Accelerated Growth Services Program. And through that program, that group makes introductions to everything from Business Development Bank, Export Development Canada, which also helps for funding. But also in the longer run, they've introduced us to trade commissions to help us build our business overseas, as well as, in our case, Standard Council of Canada. We do virtual reality simulators, which is a relatively new technology. So they're helping us identify where we may be non-compliant in the global market. We do sell throughout the world. We currently sell into Europe and the UK and the United States and Mexico. So it's very important that our products be compliant. And again, these are the people who know what they're doing, and they can also help us, meet the various requirements, as well as they've invited someone from our company to participate with them on committees in evaluating standards. I think I've about used up my time, have I not, Justin?
Yes, thank you very much, Daryl. Really appreciate you coming out and sharing your experience with us, and the experience of many entrepreneurs and innovators in Alberta in being successful in using some of the government funding programs and expertise and supports to further their business in the province and globally. I'd now like to introduce today's moderators. Session 1 will be moderated by Michael Kerr, Technology Development Advisor at Alberta Innovates. Session 2 will be moderated by Brent Lakeman, Executive Director at Alberta Economic Development, Trade and Tourism. And Session 3 will be moderated by Joanne Pollock, Director General at our very own Western Economic Diversification Canada. Let's get started with the first session. Have a great morning, everyone.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone, and welcome. My name is Michael Kerr. I'm one of the Technology Development Advisor team here at Alberta Innovates. I will be your... Oh, is there a technical issue? Sorry, I'll start again. Good morning and welcome. My name is Michael Kerr. I'm one of the Technology Development Advisor team here at Alberta Innovates. I will be your moderator for this first session called Support for Startups, Ideating and Concepting. Before we begin, we need to cover a few housekeeping items. At the bottom of your screen are multiple application tools you can use. All the engagement tools are resizable and movable, so feel free to move them around to get the most out of your desktop space. You can expand your slide area or maximize it to full screen by clicking on the arrows in the top right corner. If you have any questions during the webcast, you can submit them through the Q&A engagement tool. We will try to answer these during the webcast. However, if a longer answer is required or we run out of time, it will be answered later via email. Please know we do capture all the questions. For the best viewing experience, we recommend using a wired internet connection and closing any programs or browser sessions running in the background that could cause some issues. You can find additional answers to some common technical issues located in the Help Engagement tool at the bottom of your screen. Following the Q&A time, there will be a 10-minute break, which will allow you time to refresh your coffee and be ready for the next session. Now on to the program. This session will focus on funding and resources for early stage startups that are in the development stage of ideating and concepting. Typically, companies at this stage may have a few employees, a potential scalable product or service idea, and doing some market testing or exploring how an idea may be viable. You may be at a technology readiness level 1 to 3 and need access to funding or other supports to continue to grow. At this point, allow me to introduce our presenters. First, we have Irene Mikawas, Deputy Director at Natural Sciences and Engineering Research Council, NSERC. Julie Kennett, Acting Director, National Research Council's Industrial Research Assistance Program. Carla Otto, Director of Regional Innovation at Alberta Innovates. And Elliot Hewitt, Business Development Manager, Western Economic Diversification, Canada. Let's start with the first presentation. Irene, I turn it over to you.
Hello, and thank you very much, Michael. My goals today are to first tell the audience a bit about the Natural Sciences and Engineering Research Council of Canada, or NSERC for short, as many of you know the organization's name by. Also, I'd like to show you how NSERC might be an option for your company to solve a research challenge for a product, service, process, or technology. As a company, you may need to conduct research and may not have the expertise, resources, equipment, or at least be able to do so cost effectively. And NSERC does provide you with access to our post-secondary institutions, researchers, and students. So if you'd like to modify, improve, understand your products, services, processes, and technology, and can invest your time and money to working with a post-secondary research team, then NSERC might be a good fit for you and your company. Now, starting with NSERC, NSERC is their vision for NSERC is making Canada a country of discoverers and innovators. We are the second largest funding source for industry, academic, research and development partnerships in the STEM field, and our budget every year is $1.2 billion. With that money, we support over 11,000 researchers in the natural science and engineering field, and with that also another 30,000 students and postdoctoral fellows. And of that 30,000, at least 10,000 of those are trained in partnership with industry and in partnership with industry. Now, who can be a partner on a research collaboration with a post-secondary institution? Well, if you're private, a for-profit company or organization, a public organization, a not-for-profit organization, you are eligible to participate in the NSERC partnership program. You must be active in all research activities. You must be able to exploit the research results, as well as provide cash and in-kind support. If you take a look at this chart, you will see that we have the private sector, public sector, and not-for-profit sector at the very top. And this gives you an idea of the different partners that would be recognized in a cost-sharing opportunity with NSERC. And I just want to spend a moment talking about the Canadian private companies. Now, for that, we require any company to participate in our programs to be incorporated in Canada or provincially. And we also require that exclusively dedicated to the company. We have a number of different grants and opportunities that are available for these partnerships to support these research collaborations between our partners and our post-secondary institutions. And there are two levels. We have those that can be done with university researchers and institutions, and those that can be done with the colleges, polytechnics in Canada. Now, just the bulk of the rest of the presentation will be focusing on our Alliance grant because it's one of the newest ones and it's just over a year old, and just want to make sure that people have a good understanding of it. I'm going to also just give you a quick high-level view of the college polytechnic partnerships. We have the Engage grants, and some of you may be familiar with those grants from our experience over the last 15 years with these grants. The Engage grants were a low-risk way for a company and for a post-secondary institution to work together. It was provided up to $25,000 for a 6-month grant where the institution would work on solving a company-specific challenge. We were very fortunate to establish a partnership with Alberta Innovates Campus Alberta, where we developed a Campus Alberta Small Business Engagement Engage grant, which allowed this Engage grant to be further expanded to an additional 6-month project with an additional $25,000 investment from Alberta Innovates. We also have the Alberta Research and Development grants, which are a way to continue those research collaborations, and then the Connect grants. So moving on, I'm going to be speaking now specifically about the Alliance grants. And as I mentioned, these are new grants that were probably just over a year old when we put them in place. And they replaced all the former university grants that we had in place that some of you may have heard of, like the Engage grant, Collaborative Research and Development grants, Industrial Research Chairs, Strategic Projects, and so forth. This is designed to simplify our grant offering so that we have a simplified, responsive, flexible grant that can be used for whatever type of research collaboration is necessary to move the project forward. Now, because of its flexibility, you will see that it is designed to do a number of different things. You can generate new knowledge or technology. It can be curiosity-based driven. It can be many other aspects of it, but ultimately it's to contribute to Canada's long-term competitiveness. And the projects can vary in scope and size. They can be as small as a $20,000 grant and up to $1 million. They can be short-term projects with one researcher for 1 year, or multiple researchers for 1 year, multiple researchers for 5 years, which is the maximum that we have. And they can involve different partner organizations in different sectors, such as private, public, not-for-profit, and that's what I mean by the different sectors. The grant size and duration, as I said, can be as a minimum size can be $20,000 up to $1 million, and we have our projects range from 1 year to 5 years. But if a project happens to last less than a year, that's perfectly fine. If it's 3 years, that works as well. And we have been developing a mechanism so that if a project was initially funded for 2 years, that we could then continue funding it for another year or 2 years, up to 5 years, with a simplified process in order to be able to recognize the work that had been achieved and the progress that was going to be made in the next timeline. Now we have 2 different options under Alliance, under our Alliance grant, Option 1 and Option 2. And I'm only going to speak about Option 1 because for the most part, especially as a startup company, Option 1 will be the one that best fits what your particular your stage of the company would be at. So when we take a look at Option 1, if you're a large corporation, a large organization, more than 500 employees, we would provide $1 to every dollar that you invest into the post-secondary research project to the post-secondary institution. If you are a small, medium-sized enterprise that is less than 500 employees, you would then be able to leverage $2 for every dollar that you contribute to support that post-secondary research project. So it's a really good rate of return on your investment in being able to work on a company-specific challenge using the resources that are available to post-secondary institutions. The only thing that I'll mention about Option 2, it does have to address a societal challenge that results in new natural science and engineering knowledge and societal impact. And it brings together academic, partner organizations, and societal perspectives and skill sets through this collaboration. And so it really is at a different level. Any intellectual property that's developed within the Option 2 is considered to be open for everyone to use. So it really doesn't fit a startup company in most cases. I would like to just mention that earlier, I talked a little bit about the partnership that we established with Alberta Innovates through the Campus Alberta Small Business Engage program, and we are looking at doing something very similar with the Alliance grant. We're currently just in discussions, and we're hopefully going to be able to have something available in the short term. I do want to just say that it'll likely be modeled very much on the success that we've had with the NSERC Engage CASI grant. And just for perspective, and some of you may have heard about it or been part of it, since 2016, this joint initiative has been able to support 76 small and medium-sized enterprises to tackle their company-specific challenges and develop new intellectual property. It focused on emerging technologies, and it's likely that this will continue in the new framework that we developed for the CASI Alliance grant. So at the end of it, hopefully you've learned a little bit about who NSERC is and the role that we play within the post-secondary and economic universe of Canada. But I also wanted to spend a few moments talking about why there's value in participating with the NSERC Alliance program. There are significant savings in research costs, as you've seen. We do provide, leveraging for your dollars that you contribute to the project. They are based on your company's specific requirements. It does give you access to expertise and research facilities that you might not otherwise have, or it might be too expensive to have. Students are a great way to get to know them, and we call them highly qualified personnel, that they would be in a position to become future hires for you. And of course, any contributions, both financially, like in cash, as well as in kind, qualify for the SRE&D credits or SHRED credits. Now, we have contact details provided here that you can reach us at here in the Prairies office or in any other part of Canada. And I also provided some useful links that provide you with some information. Some of those earlier grants under the college's politics were also hyperlinked so that you could get more details about that as well. I'm just going to take the next couple of slides just to speak to you about another program that I think would be of value for you to be aware of, which is the MyTech program. And the MyTech program has been around for a number of years. It's been around since it's been around for quite a few years, I think 2007 if I'm not mistaken. But it is an opportunity for students to work on research projects with supervision from their professors, supervisors, and also with input with their companies that they're partnering with. And it can be a for-profit as well as a not-for-profit in this example. And it's open to any academic institution and to all academic disciplines. And so this is important because NSERC specializes in the natural sciences and engineering fields, whereas MyTech is open to all the fields that are available. So if you have a research challenge in the social sciences and humanities research side, then MyTech would be definitely a possible fit for you to consider. As with NSERC and with MyTech, there are no deadline dates. You can apply at any point in time. And as you can see, most of these are externally reviewed by peer reviewers, so you do get quality control built into the system. And then just to give you a perspective of the type of statistics or the numbers from MyTech, so over 20,000 internship modules have taken place in Canada since 2007, and the success rate on applications is over 95%. And for anybody who'd like to get more information on that, you have the details provided on this slide here. You have a contact both in Edmonton as well as in Calgary. And I'd like to pass it back to Michael.
All right, thanks Irene, and great presentation. I'm going to take a bit of a liberty here and interject two very quick questions. I'm getting a lot of questions on two themes. One is, Irene, how long does it take for the Alliance approvals? And number two, who owns the IP at the end?
Okay, so the answer to the first question about the Alliance grant, it really depends on the amount of money being requested. So if the project costs, if they ask to NSERC to contribute under between 20 to 30,000, we try to complete the review within 4 weeks. If it is between 30,000 and 300,000, we have more of a due diligence process, which will take up to 8 weeks. And if it's over 300,000, up to $1 million, it takes up to 12 weeks at that point in time. Now, I'd just like to mention, we are having a little bit of delay in our assessments due to the COVID-19 pandemic, particularly in the larger applications. And the reason being is that many of the reviewers who are involved in these are also the same instructors and researchers and professionals working in industry and our post-secondary institutions who are now, in some cases, doing double duty or having a hard time trying to manage things at a distance. So we are seeing a bit of a lag, but our timelines assessment 4 weeks for the shorter term, smaller amounts, up to 12 weeks for the up to $1 million grants. Now, as far as intellectual property, is that each institution has its own intellectual property policy. And so I can't speak to whether the intellectual property be owned by the company, by the PEI, or jointly owned. That would be a discussion that would take place when a company identifies the best researcher for them to work on the project with their institution, and with that researcher to determine how the intellectual property will be managed.
Okay, thank you very much. And at this time, we're going to move over to our second speaker, Julie Kennett, who is the Acting Director with the National Research Council's Industrial Research Assistance Program. Over to you, Julie.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you for spelling out our acronym so that I don't have to keep saying it. I'm with the National Research Council, NRC IRAP, and I'm very pleased to be here today to talk to everyone about our program. So the National Research Council of Canada, not to be confused with the NSERC, is a federal government organization, been around for over 100 years, and has over 2,000 scientists and engineers working on a range of disciplines from aerospace to wheat breeding. We have 179 locations across the country. The one pictured here is on Sussex Drive, and it's probably one of the nicest, and was where one of our Nobel Prize-winning scientists, Dr. Hertzberg, was located. And within that organization, we have IRAP is a small but important part of NRC. We have about 250 field staff located across the country, and our mandate is really to help companies, small to medium-sized companies, grow through innovation. And how do we do that? Well, you'll be hearing a lot of acronyms today, and obviously one I would like you to remember is IRAP, but the other is Industrial Technology Advisors. ITAs are our field staff, and we're located across the country in every city. We have a team in Calgary. If you're in the north of the province, we also have a team in Edmonton, and an ITA located in Grand Prairie now. So we have pretty good coverage around the communities in the province. The reason for having ITAs embedded in the communities is so that in normal times we can visit you on site in your company premises. Obviously right now we are working remotely, but it's still accessible by phone or Zoom call. And we build those relationships with our local partners, many that you'll be hearing about today, and draw on our network. And the idea is to combine that knowledge and expertise with our funding programs. I'll explain a bit more. So the ITAs are usually come to IRAP with extensive private sector experience later in their career, so usually over 20 years of experience. So that's a polite way of saying they are mature, they have lots of experience that they can share. They've been usually senior managers in technology companies, or they've been entrepreneurs themselves. And nearly all of them have an engineering or science background. Many have MBAs as well. So the ITA really is the gateway to our program. We don't have an application form as such. So my recommendation is to get to know an IRAP ITA. And if you don't currently know one, my contact details will be provided, and you can get in touch and we'll match you up. So as I mentioned, our engagement model is really through the ITA. And I know this program is called Show Me the Money. I wouldn't encourage starting the conversation with an ITA with that as an opening line, because what we like to do is to find out more about your company, what you're working on, how we can help you grow. And then if it looks like we start by providing advice, connections, some technical expertise. We have 250 ITAs across the country we can draw on with various specializations. So we can draw on that knowledge. We can draw on the knowledge from our own researchers at NRC, as well as our partners locally here. Now, if it looks like it's a good fit for IRAP, then we can invite you to submit a proposal for a project to be funded through one of our programs. And the main program we have is called the IRAP R&D program. We call that regular IRAP. It's $300 million per year nationally. So that is spread across the country, supporting SMEs. And I'll explain a bit more about the eligibility requirements for that. As well as that, we have a smaller youth employment program that's for firms to help employ graduates 30 years and under to help in a technical or a business area for a 6 to 12-month term. And we're also getting more involved in international programming and research and development partnerships. So we are a selective program. So we have limited funds. There's only so much to go around, so it can be quite competitive. So the basic eligibility is quite open. You have to be a for-profit Canadian incorporated in Canada, SME with 500 or fewer employees. So that opens it up to a lot of potential candidates. And then with an objective to grow through innovation. So when we meet with you to find out more what you're working on and where your growth objectives are and what you're aspiring to do, we look at your business, look at the business opportunity that you're working on, the management team, and the potential that you'll be able to pull this together. So we do a fair amount of business due diligence. And then also assess the project itself. So we'll help you work to scope out the project. And we do want to see some technical challenges. If you see that this is fairly straightforward, it's been done before, and we're just copying what somebody else has done, or we've done this before, we like to see challenges. So that's some of the questioning we'll have is, why is it risky? It's risky for you. So we want to help share that risk burden. And we also want to see that you have a good team in place, or if there's any help we can provide to boost that team on their capacity, technical capacity. And so we look at the project in the context of the business opportunity as well. We want to see that it will have an impact on your revenues and growth. So, and then we are looking outside of Canada more. I mean, most of the most successful companies are the ones that do export, and we are a partner with delivering Can Export with the Trade Commissioner Service. But we also are partners with various programs around the world, such as in Europe with the Eureka program, the Canadian International Innovation Program, CIIP. So those tend to be larger, more complex projects that have consortia and partners in other countries, but that's something we can help you develop. And if that's a goal, then definitely talk to us. So that's an overview. As I say, you have my contact details. I have a counterpart in Edmonton, and we are located across the country. I don't know where everyone's dialing in from, but happy to follow up with questions at the end of this event.
Yeah, thanks. Well done. And yeah, thank you, Julie, for that overview. We're right on track. So now I'm going to move it over to Carla Otto. She's the Director of Regional Innovation at Alberta Innovates to talk about Alberta Innovates supports.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. So I'm on. My name is Carla Otto, as Michael said, Director of Regional Innovation at Alberta Innovates. I like to bring together the coaching community and capital to help Alberta's technology companies accelerate. Who is Alberta Innovates? Alberta Innovates is an agency of the government. We're mandated to catalyze research and innovation activities aligned with the goals of the province, such as economic diversification, enhancement of environmental performance, and a healthier population. As the largest research and innovation agency in Alberta, we have two subsidiaries, CFIR and Innotech, $189 million to invest in research and innovation activities this year, 558 employees, and this includes our subsidiaries of CFR and Innotech, and 11 locations. So through funding programs, advice, connections, technical expertise, and applied research services, we continue to stimulate the research and innovation to propel great ideas forward. We focus on 4 core emerging technology areas. These include data-enabled innovation, transforming data into actionable information, and it enables digital transformation. Digital technology for business transformation. That's how can we leverage technology to sense and measure information to conduct business. Clean technology, innovation for a low carbon future. And innovation, production, and distribution. So that's additive manufacturing and distribution technologies. We then further focus our efforts with the emerging technologies into 5 areas where we can have the largest impact. So those are digital health. This includes wearables, personalized health, Internet of Medical Things, smart agriculture. Those are DNA tools, remote monitoring, imaging data, autonomous system for farms, factories, transportation, and retail. Innovative hydrocarbons. So that's bitumen beyond combustion and bitumen partial upgrading, bringing more value to our oil sands resources. Artificial intelligence we focus on, so we fund AMI and we support business opportunities that can use artificial intelligence as a tool. And near and dear to my heart is entrepreneur ecosystem, and this includes that coaching community and capital that surrounds your companies and helps to accelerate them. So who do we serve? Alberta Innovates has programs across the spectrum of discover, develop, and use. So we have programs that focus on knowledge generation, creating open data, and supporting knowledge translation so that new non-commercial innovations can be adopted. And we also have programs supporting the commercialization of technologies with global revenue generating potential. Today we'll focus on the second, commercializing potentials. So we will look at, in the Discover bucket on the left-hand side of the slide, we fund post-secondary research with the focus on the emerging technologies, health, clean tech, but that's not the focus of today's talk. I'm going to focus on the develop. This is the client, if you look at the bottom, on the client journey, the bottom of the slide, we use this as a global recognized ecosystem model called Startup Commons. And this allows the Alberta ecosystem to map resources with common language and better identify the gaps in the client journey for our clients. So you will see that on a lot of our slides, and that helps to coordinate our ecosystem. The use part of Alberta Innovates, that will be the focus of Terry's talk that's later to come. And I will have some overlap because some of the programs I'm going to talk to are also in that validating space that you can see in the middle of the slide. I also want to note that Innotech and CFR are resources to check out if you're looking to expand your research capacity as a company. They are there to do research for companies. So let's start with that coaching and community piece. Alberta Innovation Network is here to support you through your journey. They're there to guide clients to success with their current venture or to move on to another exciting adventure at an accelerated pace. They also help to identify and fill gaps you may find along your journey so that the next startup can benefit from our learnings. So with online programming increased by COVID, resources have become even more accessible from all of these partners around the province. If you connect with one of these partners, you'll find a network with a variety of resources. Early stage startup courses and meetups can be found at Startup Lloydminster, Startup Edmonton, Startup Calgary, and soon to be Startup YMM. They provide information and connections and help you to find a community of peers. You can find business essentials and advisors at Business Link and Community Futures. You can find your community of people at Startup TNT and Rainforest Alberta. You can find mentors and validating and scaling company support at Venture Mentoring Services, Venture Mentoring Services Alberta, Platform, Tech Edmonton, CTAC West. There's applied research services that you can tap into at our colleges and polytechnics and universities. ACAMP is funded to support electronics hardware, firmware, software, and sensors and embedded systems. Again, CFR and Innotech play in this space as well. And then it taps you into funding. It gets you ready for those angel investors such as A100, Valhalla. And we also provide funding to TechTerra. So if you're a geospatial company, check out the programs at TechTerra. And this network then feeds you into the federal programs that you're hearing about today, as well as Futurepreneur. But IRAP is a key partner in this Alberta Innovation Network, as well as WD. So all these organizations work together to find the next best connection for you. So I recommend looking at the websites, which are very tiny at the bottom of this slide, possibly, or go on to Connectica and search through the resources that are available there. So our offerings at Alberta Innovates. So we rely on the Alberta Innovation Network to work with entrepreneurs in the ideating and conceptualizing stage, in that very early stage, helping you figure out and further define your value proposition to customers and articulating that in a way to attract capital. Once you are committed to your companies and you have discovered your problem solution fit by developing a prototype or an MVP and have talked to customers, and you have the desire to grow a high potential scalable company, we have 10 technology development advisors around the province to provide coaching and advising, networking, and access to capital to accelerate your opportunity. A TDA will provide you with valuable business advice, connections from their own experience in the tech industry or as an entrepreneur. They can also help you access up to $10K from the microvoucher program at Alberta Innovates to advance your opportunity. Microvouchers are small dollars that come out fast, and they go towards paying a service provider. Applicants must pay 25% of the total project costs. If the total project costs, for example, are $13,333, Alberta Innovates will pay $10,000 to the service provider, and the applicant will pay the other $3,333 to the service provider. So to find out more, I suggest you register on Alberta Innovates grant portal. The address is at the end of this presentation to see all the funding programs currently open at Alberta Innovates. Micro vouchers are open to Alberta-based technology companies under 50 million in revenue and under 500 employees. An applicant must be an Alberta-based company with an Alberta footprint, which is determined by the following: a significant physical presence and corporate operational presence in Alberta, appropriate Alberta ownership, and an intent that the operational benefits will flow primarily within the province of Alberta. Further information on this program can be found on our website in the guides. Next slide. We also have clean resource programs in Alberta Innovates. And so, as mentioned, in the microvouchers focus on developing Alberta companies with the ability to scale and scale globally. In clean resources, their primary focus is on solving a specific problem for the province. So it's not a requirement to be an Alberta company for these programs. It is a requirement that you solve a problem for Alberta. So their programs are spread across the client journey from ideating to establishing and solving problems in the following areas: advanced hydrocarbons, so that's cleaner hydrocarbon production, innovative hydrocarbon products, clean technology, which is bioenergy, carbon capture and utilization, and renewable and alternative energy, and environmental innovation, land and biodiversity, water innovation. So if you have an innovation that may solve these problems for Alberta, contact the program manager as listed on the Alberta Innovates website to help guide you further, or reach out using our intake email at the end of this presentation and you will be guided to that program manager to see if you're a fit. So stay tuned also for further seminars in the clean resources area. One of them is the Water Innovation Program, which will be having a seminar on June 24th. There are programs to come, so keep your eyes on Alberta Innovates website. There will be programs in the clean resources area, bioindustrial materials, smart agriculture and food, keep your eyes open, and health innovation, digital medicine, and digital life sciences fellowship. So here's our contact information. You can connect with a TDA at our website. There is an email intake. We have a phone number. And as I mentioned earlier, the grant application portal, which will list all the currently active funding programs that Alberta Innovates has, so you can register there. I also recommend you check out our website, like I said, for our guides to our programs, and Connectica for where all the services are across the province and the Alberta Innovation Network. And then, of course, Inventures will be having Unbound sessions such as this for the rest of the year. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Carla. And I've got a couple of questions specific to Alberta Innovates programs. One is, do you have to be incorporated to access the programs? And how many times per year can you apply for a micro voucher?
Good questions, Michael. So yes, you do have to be in an incorporated company, incorporated and registered in Alberta. And micro vouchers are usually I want to emphasize the working with the TDA, as did IRAP. It's not about the money, it's about where you are with your business. So make sure you connect with the TDA and they will connect you to the right programs at the right times.
Okay, and thank you for the questions from the Q&A file. So yeah, keep them coming because we will be coming to those at the end. So we have one last presentation, and that's Elliot Hewitt, Business Development Manager, Western Economic Diversification Canada. So over to you, Elliot.
Hey, good morning, everyone. So welcome and hello from beautiful Calgary. It's a nice blue sky, sunny day here. I hope it's the same where everyone else is. My name's Elliot Hewitt. As Michael mentioned, I'm Business Development Manager for WD's Calgary office. So great to hear presentations from NSERC, NRC IRAP, and Alberta Innovates. And if you think government departments enjoy using acronyms, then stay tuned because there's more to come. Thanks again for joining us this morning. I'm going to give you information about our department and the type of supports that we provide to the innovation ecosystem here in Alberta. So who are we? Western Economic Diversification is a federal department headquartered in Edmonton, Alberta. We are one of 6 regional development agencies in Canada. There's one for the Atlantic region, one for Quebec. Ontario gets 2, one for Southern Ontario and then for the North. And then, of course, Northern Canada with CanNor. And for us in the West, it's WD. So we have just over 300 employees located across all 4 Western provinces, with offices in Vancouver, Saskatoon, Winnipeg, and of course, Edmonton. We do have an Ottawa office as well, but our headquarters and our Deputy Minister's office is actually in Edmonton, making us the only federal department with deputy ministers and headquarters outside of Ottawa, at least west of Ottawa. The Edmonton office is in Canada Place. We like to affectionately call it the Pink Palace. Here in Calgary, we have our satellite office, and we're located at the Harry Hayes building, at least until recently. Of course, like everyone else, we're all working remotely at the moment, but good news from the province. It looks like we're going to start getting back to normal, and hopefully keep fingers crossed we can continue on this path over the coming months. So in Alberta, we split work for the most part between our Edmonton and Calgary offices, with Calgary staff concentrating on Southern Alberta. And as a federal department, we promote growth and diversification of Canada's economy, especially Western Canada's economy. And we help address key economic challenges like we're experiencing now through strategic and targeted programs, services, knowledge, and expertise. So for over 30 years, WD has invested across a variety of areas to make a difference in our economy. For example, last year, WD investments helped create over 3,200 jobs, generated over $837 million in export sales, $232 million in sales of commercialized products. We do this through what we call a place-based approach, engaging multiple areas of government and stakeholders to address the realities of specific regions and communities. So in order to achieve this, we are a number of things. Number one, we are an investor. We make targeted investments in business and not-for-profit organizations to spur diversification, innovation, and community economic growth. We're a delivery agent. We help deliver on national priorities and respond to regional economic issues. You may recall the recent Women's Enterprise Initiative and the Community Experiences Fund. Those were delivered here in Western Canada by WD. And now we're delivering the Regional Relief and Recovery Fund, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a minute. We're strategic advisors. We use our research expertise and knowledge to advocate for regional interests in national policy discussions. We are Western Canada's voice in Ottawa. We are pathfinders and conveners. We can connect key economic stakeholders, including governments, industry, post-secondary institutions, and Indigenous groups with federal departments and other partners. Today's event is a good example of this type of work that we do. So who do we serve? Our key partners in program and service delivery are, of course, businesses. We provide funding for business innovation to help Western Canadian businesses advance technology, scale up, reach new markets, and be more productive and competitive. Through our Business Scale Up and Productivity Program, you'll hear more about that in session 3 from Oba Harding, one of our great senior business officers. So I'll leave that to him. Not-for-profit entities, we make targeted investments in not-for-profit organizations to generate sustainable, inclusive growth and nurture regional innovation ecosystems. So for example, Platform, Intergen, Creative Destruction Labs, and the Clean Resource Innovation Network, who are presenting in the next session, are all get some support through WD and other federal departments as well. Communities, we support communities to leverage their capacity and strengths to sustain growth and grow and diversify their local economies. We provide funding to local community futures offices and, of course, business league offices in Calgary and Edmonton. WD priorities include growing innovative clusters and inclusiveness. Inclusiveness involves increasing economic participation by Indigenous peoples, women, and youth. In Alberta, clusters of priority, which will sound familiar because we have heard similar things from Alberta Innovates and our colleagues at the province, but we are concentrating on health data, energy value-added, agriculture, and energy value-added and smart agriculture. WD's 2 main priorities are working on clusters and inclusiveness, and we do that through strengthening innovation ecosystems through our Regional Innovation Ecosystem Program. I'll speak about that next. Business growth, supported through our Business Scale-Up and Productivity Program, which I mentioned. Community economic development, of course, through our Community Futures offices. And inclusive economic growth, and I mentioned that already. So what do we offer? WD makes strategic investments in Western Canadian not-for-profits that support businesses in priority areas or promote inclusiveness for underrepresented groups and advance the development of regional innovation ecosystems. So for example, post-secondary institutions like the University of Calgary, U of A, SAIT, NAIT, University of Lethbridge, angel networks like Valhalla, municipalities through organizations like Calgary Economic Development and Global Edmonton, Indigenous organizations like Indigenous Tourism Alberta and Tsuut'ina Nation. Projects under this program must connect with either one of our priority areas, clean tech, clean resources, life sciences, value-added agriculture, and advanced manufacturing, or need to have an inclusiveness lens that helps create economic opportunities. So projects funded under this regional innovation ecosystem, activities have to relate to supporting businesses to help them commercialize technologies, scale up, increase productivity, and also business accelerators and incubators. So we do develop projects under this stream on a continuous basis. It starts by contacting your local WD office or staff person, and we work from there to see if your project idea is a good fit for our priorities. So a couple helpful hints. If you're applying to us under this not-for-profit stream, you must have economic outcomes on your project. That means like jobs created, number of businesses created, those type of outcomes. You must have good partners. We very rarely fund any project 100%. We're always looking for partners from other levels of government, but especially from industry. Ask for what you need. Budgets are always negotiable. We want to make sure public funds are spent providing good value for money. And don't build your project to meet our needs of the funder. Either your project is a good fit for our funding or it's not, but please don't change your project's vision just to get our funding. We help organizations pathfind, and we help find other sources of funding all the time, even if we can't participate. It's just part of what we do. So Regional Relief and Recovery Fund, real quick, this was announced on May 13th as part of the National Regional Relief and Recovery Fund. We are delivering this program in Western Canada. We are administering $304 million across all 4 Western provinces to help businesses that do not qualify for other federal government funding programs or need additional financial help to support continued operations, pay employees, protect technologies, all because of the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic that we're experiencing right now. So this program includes interest-free, repayable funding, and you can apply to one of 2 streams. One stream is up to $40,000 or less for those companies that do not qualify for other programming. That program has been up and running, and we're seeing quite a significant uptake in that program. Continue to apply. There is also a stream 2, which is for businesses that need larger help, larger funds, 40,000 up to $1 million. And again, we are processing applications as we speak, and uptake has been quite significant in Alberta. So please encourage companies to continue to look at that program if you haven't been successful on others. I see I'm running a little bit over time, so I just want to encourage people to go to our website, Google Regional Relief and Recovery Fund. If you haven't accessed our funding, there's a nice, easy drop-down menu. Walk through some questions, and you'll find out in a hurry if you can qualify. So please contact us through our website. Another way, if you want to contact me, you can Google my name, and it'll show up on LinkedIn. Lots of people connect up through there. I do want to put one quick plug in for Innovation Canada. I know it was mentioned earlier, but for companies that are early stage looking for federal government programs, if you Google Innovation Canada, it will take you to their website. Fantastic resource. Strongly encourage you to apply there. That's it for now, Michael.
All right, thanks, Elliot. We did have one question that came in just for clarification. Can you name the business growth program again, and in particular for food manufacturing and agriculture?
Yeah, business scale up and productivity program. And like I said, session 3, OBA will be talking about that in detail.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And yeah, well, so now I'm going to ask some of the questions that are coming from the online chat here. And so what I'll start is, it's a bit overwhelming on the number of programs that are out there in support. So how well do the programs actually interface, or is it up to the entrepreneur to figure out how or where they should be going? So I'm going to start with Julie on this one.
Well, thanks, Michael. We actually do work very well together, I think. In normal times, we are co-located in Calgary with you folks at Alberta Innovates, and quite often, if the client is open to the idea, we will attend meetings together so that you don't have to tell your story twice. And we are part of the regional innovation networks and all kinds of ecosystem events and partnerships. So I think we're very well connected.
Okay, so yeah, that helps, because yeah, it's a bit overwhelming in terms of where to go for support and make sure that it's connected. So another question is around whether there's a difference between being in a more urban center or rural in terms of accessibility. So I know, Elliot, you spoke about this already, so I'm going to touch back with Carla on this one, and not just Alberta Innovates, but the ecosystem as a whole.
Yes, so I think WD and us work to make sure that there are services available to the rurals. If you noticed on my map across Alberta, we do have regional innovation networks in Grand Prairie, Fort McMurray, Lloydminster, Red Deer, Lethbridge, Medicine Hat. So trying to reach out and make sure services are close by. And they are connected. We do, and I want to feed off of even the connections within the urban centers. There are monthly meetings between all of these providers that are on the call here to make sure that we're aware of the programming and that we can find the right stuff. So if you are in the rural areas, I suggest you reach out to one of the RINs if you haven't connected into that network already.
All right, thank you. And I'm going to go through each one of you here on a question that does go across, and that is, are there specific areas of technology, and how do you define technology with the offering? So we'll start back with Irene.
Okay, that's an interesting question. Basically, NSERC is not looking at specific technologies per se. So when applications are submitted, if it's not a specialized call, we're looking at whatever makes sense for that research partnership together, to work together, what the project objectives are, if the right resources and the right partners are part of the project. So it can span almost any area as long as it's in the natural science and engineering area. And in some cases, it can move into areas like pharmaceuticals, and to a small extent to health, depending on whether it's a device, but if it's something like a clinical trial, that falls outside of the scope of the natural science and engineering area. So we don't have specific technologies that we support or that we're looking towards. Having said that, we just completed a call for COVID-19 where we were looking at solutions for what was going on with COVID-19, and actually it ranged the full scope from everything from having manufacturing processes modified and adapted to reflect the COVID-19 social distancing aspects, all the way through to sterilization of equipment or other items. So sometimes we do a specialized call, and we actually do have a specialized call out right now that's on recycled plastics. So, and again, we don't specify what the technology needs to look like, but it needs to address that specific challenge.
Excellent. So Julie, same question.
Yeah, similar. We're sector agnostic and technology agnostic, really, but it depends on the market, what's happening locally. In Alberta, obviously, we see a lot of clean tech, oil and gas technology, agriculture, and, obviously a lot of software and AI. And so it really depends on what the trends that are happening. We do in IRAP, we do have national sector teams. So that's in certain areas such as clean tech and ag food. And advanced manufacturing, so that like-minded, experienced ITAs can group together and address things on a national issue. But otherwise, we're really looking at and definition of technology. That's probably one of the hardest things to define is what is really innovative. So that's where we draw on our subject matter experts in those areas that know the markets and where the industry trends are going.
Okay, and Carla.
Yeah, so as I presented in my presentation, we do have some focus areas. We will take technologies outside of those focus areas, but we are emphasizing those 4 core technology areas and our 5 focus areas. Technology to us is technology and knowledge-based innovations that have high growth potential. So we want to not be bringing technology into a pizza shop and bringing it in to grow a company within Alberta. We're looking to grow Alberta companies to go global. So again, looking for that novel technology, business innovation, knowledge set that will create a large company for Alberta's economy.
Okay, and Elliot.
Well, you get the joy of working from home. My telephone is ringing, so ignore that sound. We align very nicely, obviously, with NRC IRAP and Alberta Innovates. No surprise, clean tech, those kinds of technologies are what we're interested in. Although I would say our support on the business scale-up program is certainly on the high growth tech, commercialization ready. The ecosystem support funding that I was mentioning under the regional innovation ecosystem really is supporting organizations that help support the businesses that are early stage. So a little bit different focus on that non-for-profit entity, but certainly technology as a whole, we're very nicely aligned with the other presenters.
Yeah, okay, excellent. And just got a question that I think fits more with you, Elliot, which is about the $40,000 that was administered through banks or yourself. Is there an application form available? So there seems to be a bit of confusion, or we need some clarity on, was the $40,000 through the banks or was it through you, and where to go for that?
So on the Regional Relief and Recovery Fund, if you, again, best way to find it is to Google that term, but you can also go to our website and find it there. And as you go through, they ask you a series of questions. So number one, what are you applying for, under 40, over 40? In either case, funding comes from Western Economic Diversification, not through your bank. So it's different from some of the other federal programs, which are working through banks. This one in particular, we are actually issuing those contribution agreements directly.
Okay. And so founders, I should say, not funders. But so can we support the founders of a company? And I'll come back around to Irene.
Okay, so the question, I think, if I understand correctly, is do we have financial support for founders? And with Inventures, that's not the case. Our funding goes directly to the post-secondary institutions and helps leverage the dollars that a founder might have to support their company and their initiatives. And so at the moment, we do not have any programs that support the founders for the company.
Okay, and Julie?
Yeah, with IRAP, we tend not to support founders. Our funding is for T4 employees or contractors that are working directly on a research project, and that doesn't often tend to be the founder. But there are always exceptions if a case can be made that founder has the technical expertise and is the only one in the company that can really do some of the research. We may support some of that time, but obviously they're going to be tied up doing business-related things as well.
Okay, and Carla?
I would say somewhat similar. We do not support founders directly. However, if they are a project partner within probably some of the clean resources funding programs, they may be funded as a researcher as part of that, but no direct funding to the funder itself.
Okay, and Elliot?
So under the Regional Relief and Recovery Fund, sole proprietorships are not eligible. However, funding would go directly to founders if it's incorporated and that sort of thing. So that's certainly under that program. And that is a repayable interest-free loan. There is a forgivable portion of it. But whether it's under 40,000, there is a percentage that could be forgiven. Actually, if the payment is made earlier, so there's some terms and conditions there where up to $40,000 you can actually get some of that forgiven in terms of what you have to pay back. On the loans that are 40,000 to $1 million. Those are, again, interest-free, but they are repayable, so it is an interest-free loan. And you'll hear later about the Business Scale-Up and Productivity Program being very similar in that it is an interest-free loan, and there is a repayment schedule on that one too. So we do provide funding, I guess, short answer, directly to funders.
Okay, I got an excellent question here, although it was more about IRAP. I'm just going to adapt it a bit for everyone else. The question relates to how is the money released via the program? And in particular, I would imagine it's coming from the cash flow perspective for a startup. So I'll start with you, Elliot. I'm going to go down the line the other way. Is what is that process so that we understand how to manage that cash flow?
Well, the Regional Relief and Recovery Fund is different for us. That is a lump sum payment straight up front, the 40,000 and above even. So the other program with the Business Scale Up and Productivity, though, that is done through a series of payments. What has to happen is the business that qualifies under that one and is approved under funding for a project. They go out, spend the money, then they put in a claim, and we reimburse them on expenses. So it's not like a grant. A lot of people are familiar with grants from the province where you get all the money up front. Our contribution agreements require you to go out, spend the money, and then put in the claim afterwards. And that's the same on the not-for-profit side. So those entities that we fund under that funding stream, again, it's not a grant system. It is what we call a contribution agreement. You go out, spend the money, put in the claim afterwards. So it's a little unique to federal government.
Okay, Carla.
Unmute myself. Yes, in the majority of our programs, we pay a service provider. So we will pay the service provider after the work is done. We also have milestone-based payments. So I would recommend reading the guide specifically for your program, but our funding is released based on completion of milestones in the majority of the cases.
Okay, and Julie?
Yeah, IRAP funding is dispersed through a contribution agreement, so it's not an upfront grant. It's only for costs eligible after signing the agreement, so therefore future you can't retroactively claim past R&D costs. That's what SHRED is for. So when we agree on a project scope and terms, we sign a contribution agreement with you, and then you can claim your R&D costs on a monthly basis in arrears. So you submit a claim every month on salary and contractor expenses. So we do look at cash flow as part of our due diligence on the business side to make sure that companies are able to cash flow the project, that they can pay their staff and their contractors while they're waiting for the reimbursement.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and Irene.
Okay, and then for NSERC, all our money does go to the post-secondary institutions. So there normally is a company cash component that's required, which would represent a third or 50% of the project cost. So once those funds have come to the institution and the research partnership agreements in place and the project funded, we would advance the first year's advance the funds for the project for the first year, and then second and third year would be based on progress within the project would be advanced, provided both parties are still quite happy with the work that is being done in the research project.
Okay, and excellent. So I got a follow up on the founder question, which I think is it's going to challenge us a bit here. But so if you're only a founder and you're the tech person, what routes or suggestions do you have to get going, especially if they are cash flow tight? And I'll start this one off with, let's pick Julie.
Well, thanks. Well, as I say, usually a startup, I mean, we're not, it's a tough one because usually a founder has put some of their money in, right? And they're going to get the benefits out at the end, hopefully, if they're the major shareholder. But that's why I said it's a case-by-case basis. So, I mean, there's always room for exceptions. If in a special case, this is a brilliant scientist that is the only person in the world that knows how to do this and is going to be hands-on developing the project and working on the project. But then I would say if they really want to grow the business, they're going to need to start hiring people, even if they're not doing the business side.
Okay, and I'm going to jump over to Elliot on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I would say similar to Julie's response in that. Maybe, sorry, Micah, can you just repeat the question? I've had a bit of a brain freeze, and I want to make sure I answer it correctly.
Yeah, no, that's okay. It's a bit of a challenge if when we're talking about processes and we're not able to through the funding mechanism to support a founder. How does a one-person founder company, they do everything, how then, or what suggestions do you have to get started?
Yeah, I mean, the early stage, for sure, I think is the biggest challenge. If you have a product that's been developed and it's ready to commercialize, then, we're looking at the angel networks and some of the upcoming session 2 participants. I mean, you'll be able to hear about potentially accessing, other sources of capital. I think these early stage programs, whether it's the voucher program or the NRC IRAP, it is very much a case-by-case basis. I know for our business scale-up and productivity program, you have to be a more mature company, really, to qualify for that. It's not for early-stage companies. It's much more on the ready, poised for high growth. So very different scenario to early-stage startup.
Okay, and Carla, do you want to add anything to that?
I just want to specify that we're looking to see that they already have skin in the game, and we're looking to co-invest with the founder on that one. So we're not the first one in. I also want to emphasize the comment was made about creating a team, is that we're there to support service providers or R&D associates or commercial associates, which you'll learn about later in the next presentation. So they're really emphasize forming that team and not going it alone.
Okay, and Irene, anything to add?
Just really quickly, just to, for NSERC, a one-person company would not meet the bar that we have, which is not a very high bar, which is 2 full-time employees. But I'd like to mention that there are different types of incubators that might be an option as the company is starting out, as well as pitch competitions, and then also being able to get angel investors or others engaged and involved in your company. So it is really important to build your foundation, and that's not only with the money, it's with the right people in place and the right contacts and the right network. So I think that's probably, although for NSERC and some of the other programs, a one-person company is a little bit too early, I would say that it is still a great place to start from and build from, and that in a year or two or maybe less, maybe you've gotten the resources in place in order to be able to make it to the next level.
Okay.
Yeah. Michael, if I could just, thanks, Irene. You had a much better answer than I did. But I really encourage businesses out there. I think Julie mentioned it earlier. I mean, we meet on a regular basis. We know each other. That's part of what we do. So there is kind of no wrong door. I mean, if you come to WD and you're not a good fit for our program, we'll get you lined up with NSERC or with NRC IRAP or Alberta Innovates. And I mean, that system is in place internally to government, and we do strive really hard to make sure we are aware of each other's programs and make that referral to hopefully the right source, and you can take off from there.
Okay, yeah, and thank you. So at this point, I'm going to close it down this session, but just be aware, everybody is, there is no wrong door. Even if you're not sure, contact any one of us on this webinar, and we'll be sure to make sure we get a connection for you. The other piece too is, the support is out there, whether you're rural or urban. And we will also be answering the questions that did come in the QA. I didn't get to all of them. There was excellent questions there that we will respond if we didn't get to it in this session. So looks like it is time to move on. And I hope you found this session informative. Thank you for joining us, and thank you to our presenters, Irene, Julie, Carla, and Elliot. The next up will be session 2 in about 5 minutes. It's support through the valley of death, the committing and validating stage, which will start, as I say, in 5 minutes. If any of you wish to stay on for the next 5 minutes while others are refreshing their coffee, I'll be here to answer any questions. And thank you.
Yeah, and Michael, just we should let people know that they need to click on the, I think it's called the schedule button at the top right of their screen to head to you got to go back to the hub and then go to the next session, apparently.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I was not aware of that. Thank you very much. So I'm still here for questions. Okay, so I do have one here, Carla, around the $3,333. Can that be sweat equity included on that?
No, that has to be the payment to the service provider as well. So the company's dollars need to go to the service provider for that $3,333.
Okay. And then another one is what are common mistakes people make or suggestions to avoid common mistakes? So maybe we'll start with Elliot.
Common mistakes in terms of applying for funding?
Yep.
Or,
yeah.
I guess it depends on the program. I know certainly for our business scale up, well, I'll speak to the not-for-profits because our regional innovation ecosystem program, again, I think one mistake is that not-for-profits sometimes make is they are just kind of shopping around. They don't actually understand what the programming or what our funding requirements are and priorities. So it's important to have that conversation and really understand what your funder, what their priorities are. And I know certainly from a technical standpoint, depending on which department you're dealing with, certainly NRC IRAP, they have their staff are, experts in their field. Our funding, our officers are certainly much, not in the same vein, much more generic. I mean, so it's very important to kind of tell your story and explain your technology, explain what it is you want to do. I always say to people, if you could explain it to your mom, and she gets it, well, then you're good to go, right? It's kind of common sense, but it really is important to use plain language and really describe what it is you want to do.
Okay. Anyone else have anything to add to that answer? And we'll call it then.
Yeah, I think someone mentioned earlier, don't try and fit your project or your business to access the grant or the funding program. Do what you need to do for the business.
Okay. Any other comments?
I would say really stay connected with your customers. So provide us with some information. Have you talked to your first 10 customers to make sure you know that there's a value proposition there?
I think I would just echo what was said as well. I think it's really quite important that you have your business focus, you understand what your customer requirements and needs are, and that you're pivoting your business towards that and not to, being successful on a grant or on a loan, because at the end of the day, if you spend more time focused on that, that's where your business is focused and not really on what you're trying to do in your product, service, process, or technology.
Okay, and thank you. And we are out of time. And as I mentioned before, if your question didn't get answered in the call or the webinar here, we will certainly be responding by email. And thank you. Thank you, everybody who presented. And have a good day.
Have a great day.
See y'all.